Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Just Trying to Survive and Learn to Love Along the Way. This will be Part 8, Chapters 14 and 15. Chapter 14 of Sickness and Inquiries. Midoriya wakes up by the end of the period, bleary-eyed and confused. Aizawa-sensei calls Shinso up to his desk as the bell rings, and he knows this is it. He didn't pay attention, and now he's being kicked from the hero course on his third day. Don't worry about the essay, Shinso. I know you don't even know the topic. With that, he's gone, and Shinso is left gaping at the open door. This must be opposite day. There is no way a teacher that strict would exempt him from an assignment. He's heard horror stories about him from his current class. The only explanation is Midoriya. Shinso turns toward the student in question and grimaces. He is surrounded by classmates wondering loudly about how he got away with wearing that sweater. Midoriya looks uncomfortable, leaning away and frowning at them. Can't they see that he doesn't want to talk? Shinso storms through the crowd and stands next to Midoriya, who looks at him gratefully. Uraraka had been in his face, going on about how cute the sweater is and wondering how he got such a limited edition Present Mic hoodie. Midoriya is signing at them, asking them to be quiet, but the only other person who would understand is Koda, and he's avoiding the group like the plague. Smart guy. You think you guys could quiet down? You're making him uncomfortable. They look skeptical, but a glance at where Midoriya is now covering his ears to avoid their loud questions makes them comply. How do you know that? You can't speak for him. Deku, tell him you're fine. And that's the usually soft-spoken Uraraka, looking put out that she's making her friend uncomfortable. I know sign language, and if you really looked at him instead of what he's wearing, you'd see that I'm right. Shinso signs. What a bunch of idiots. Izuku giggles a little at that, and everyone looks over at him. I knew you could speak. Deku, tell him he's wrong. I can't. Please stop it. He looks frustrated at himself as Shinso translates what he signed. Come on, Midoriya. Yes, you can. More voices join the fray this time, and Shinso can tell they're going for supportive, but it's also making Izuku look a lot worse. He's shaking his head at them, but only the loud entrance of Present Mic gets them to stop. Thank God for Loud Cat. Izuku just nods in agreement, looking worse than he had when he had entered the classroom. Izuku somehow manages to stay awake during Present Mic's lecture, but it looks like he's dreading lunch hour. Shinso is tapping his shoulder as soon as the bell rings. Want to hang out for lunch? I can show you my favorite place to hide. Izuku nods in agreement, and they pack up quickly, heading towards Present Mic. I am hiding with Purple Cat for lunch. All right, just text me or Show if you start feeling any worse. Show? That's the name he mentioned when he answered the phone. Shinso has so many questions. I'll take good care of Baby Cat. That earns a loud laugh out of their teacher before he waves them off, and Izuku shoots him a half-hearted glare. Not funny. Now that's all they're going to call me. Come on. It could have been so much worse. I could have called you Broccoli Head or something. That earns him a laugh, and Shinso smiles to himself as he steers his friend out the front doors of the school, taking a sharp right and walking along the wall. They reach their destination fairly quickly, a little alcove in the wall, hidden by trees, and Midoriya's eyes light up when he sees it. From there, they can be perfectly hidden and no one will be able to find them. Other than Nezu, of course. It only takes a few minutes of silence for Shinso to crack under the weight of his questions. He chooses the one that's least likely to upset Midoriya. So, what's your connection to our teachers? Midoriya stares at him with a small frown, and he wonders if he picked the wrong question. My mother has been abusing me for a long time, but it got a lot worse this weekend. I called Tired Cat for help, and they saved me. Now I live with them. And wow, that is not what he was expecting. Shinso suspects there's a lot more to the story than that, but he won't press. That's already more than he expected to learn. He decides to focus on the less serious part of that sentence. Them, as in Eraserhead and Present Mike? They're together? Is Aizawa-sensei the show that Mike keeps on mentioning? And now Midoriya looks mortified at having outed his guardians. Fuck, I did not mean to say that, or sign that. Please don't tell anyone. Don't worry, my lips are sealed. Midoriya gives a relieved sigh and returns to his lunch. He tugs at the sleeve to get his attention and signs again a few minutes later. Hey, Shinso, were you ever bullied for your quirk? That's not what he expected, but he might as well be honest. Midoriya looks nervous as he waits for his answer. I was. Why? You couldn't have possibly been with that powerful quirk of yours. Midoriya looks a little upset at that, but Shinso can't fathom as to why. Can you keep a secret? Shinso nods in place of an answer. I was bullied a lot. Kids would chase me down and beat me up. They started telling me to kill myself in second year of middle school. Midoriya pauses to compose himself a little before he continues. Why in the world would somebody bully him? Midoriya continues before he can ask the question. It's because I was quirkless. I didn't get my quirk until the day of the entrance exam. And that explains so much. Shinso knows there's got to be more to how he got his quirk, but in front of him, Midoriya is getting more worked up, probably worried that he thinks he's lying. He places a hand on his friend's shoulder, and doesn't miss the way he flinches back. Midoriya, I believe you. Have you told Aizawa-sensei about all this? He knows most of it. I accidentally told him when he rescued me. I know we need to talk about it more, but I think he doesn't want to pressure me. I'm grateful for that. Midoriya is calmer now, and Shinso's head is reeling. There is so much more to this kid than he thought, and he's wondering how much he doesn't know. Probably a lot. He decides a change in topic is due, as it's nearing the end of lunch, and he doesn't want Midoriya even more upset than he already is. Hey, are you sitting out again during hero studies? You probably shouldn't participate if you're sick. I am sleeping in the teacher's lounge. Tired Cat's orders. All right, I'll walk you there. Shinso gets up and leaves the alcove, Midoriya scrambling to catch up behind him. A tug on his sleeve gets his attention. I don't think walking me there involves me chasing you. Midoriya doesn't look mad, but he's got a small frown on his face, so Shinso slows his pace a little. By the time they make it to the lounge, the bell for the end of lunch has already rung. Shinso didn't think it would take them that long to get there, but he also didn't consider the fact that Midoriya is sick and is walking much slower than he normally would. Jesus, how has he been getting to places on time? Has someone been carrying him around? It's hard to imagine the Eraserhead carrying Midoriya around like a small child. It's Aizawa-sensei who opens the door when they knock, and he gestures the both of them into the lounge. Midoriya immediately flops down onto one of the couches while Shinso just stands there awkwardly, feeling out of place. Their teacher shoves a slip of paper at him, startling him out of his thoughts. He just stares at it. Sensei sighs and shows it more aggressively until he grabs it. It's just a late slip, Shinso. Now get to class. Shinso all but runs out to the hallway, and then full-on sprints to the classroom for a lecture from All Might. Class is in full swing when he gets there, but All Might doesn't say a word as he hands him the slip of paper, simply gesturing for him to sit down while continuing the lesson. He does, however, receive several glares from his new classmates, but he simply counters with one of his own. Shinso tries to focus on the lecture, to take good enough notes for his friend to copy. But by the time the lesson is over, all he has written down are a few meager things related to battle tactics. Midoriya slips into the room as the bell rings, hardly sparing All Might a glance. He gives Shinso a small smile as he slides into his seat, looking much better than he had before lunch. Aizawa-sensei slips into the room moments later and starts class before the bell has a chance to go off. Internships. As you know, many pro heroes were present at the sports festival. They all attend in the hopes of finding future heroes to attract to their agencies. To do this, they offer internships to the ones they are interested in. This is what you'll be picking today. If you weren't offered any, then I have a list of open offers you can pick from. He hands out the stacks quickly. Some students got huge piles, while others only got a few pieces of paper. Midoriya turns to him with his own as soon as Aizawa-sensei is zipped up in his sleeping bag. Have you picked someone yet? Midoriya, we've had these for less than 20 seconds. I haven't even looked at the first name on my list. I'll help you look. Don't you have your own forms to look through? Nope. I already know who I'm going with. I'll look through these later to see who is interested in me. Who did you pick? I'm going with Loudcat. He's going to help me learn better control over my quirk. No surprises there. He should have known that Midoriya would pick one of their teachers. All right, you can help me, but only a little. Midoriya grins at him before scooting closer to take a look at the first hero on the list. Best Genist. Interesting offer, but not his first pick. He scans through the list slowly, not recognizing many of the names. Midoriya taps his arm and points to the fourth name on his list. Gunhead. That name is vaguely familiar, but Shinso doesn't know anything about the hero. He created his own fighting style, Gunhead Martial Arts, and it's meant for close combat fighting and defending against different weapons. I heard that he teaches all his interns the basics of his fighting style. Of course, Midoriya knows this. Sounds good to me. They spend the rest of class going over their English work together, while listening to their classmates argue about which hero is best for an internship. After waving goodbye to Midoriya, Shinso starts his short walk home. His mom greets him at the door with a hug and a finger to the lips, a sign that his younger sister is napping, which is no easy feat. Shinso passes by his father in the living room as he passes through to his room, where he shuts the door and flops on his bed, completely done with the day. Chapter 15 of Classmates and Classrooms. Thursday morning sees Izuku drifting out of his room after a full night's sleep. He's feeling well rested and only slightly ill, doing much better than he was yesterday. He is determined to participate in all of his classes today, even if it means having to interact with All Might. He dresses in his uniform quickly after Shouta takes another look at his arm, finding the infection mostly cleared up. Hisashi helps him with his tie again before they're off, and Izuku hopes that Shinso is already in class again. He'd helped him out so much yesterday when his classmates were bothering him. He only hoped he could do the same today. He told him so much yesterday, and is a little worried that Shinso won't want to be his friend anymore. Izuku has a feeling that his classmates' questions aren't over with, and he could use all the help he can get avoiding them. Midoriya, I'm glad to see you in full uniform today. Ida is the only one in here, and Izuku prays that he doesn't want to talk. Thanks, Ida. The other boy opens his mouth as if to say something, but he seems to change his mind, as he shuts his mouth just as quickly. Izuku sits down and sighs in relief when Ida simply nods and returns to his work. Shinso walks in next, slumping in his chair as he opens his mouth to speak, but he closes it just as quickly, eyes trained on something behind Izuku. He turns around just as Uraraka arrives at his desk. Hey, Deku-kun. I'm so sorry about being so pushy yesterday, but you have to understand that we all were worried about you. How about I take you for a coffee after school as an apology? He appreciates that she's apologizing. It's actually quite thoughtful of her. But Izuku really doesn't want to hang out after school. He's got enough on his mind as it is without worrying about what she wants to say to him. Although now that she's brought it up, he's going to worry either way. Sorry, Uraraka. I have plans after school. Hopefully that will be enough to dissuade her. Aw, can't you reschedule, Deku? It's important. Apparently not. Sorry, I can't. She looks like she's going to argue more, but she glances behind him, and whatever she sees makes her turn around and leave. Izuku turns to look at Shinso, but he just grins at him and gestures to the front of their class, where Shouta has just arrived. All right, class. You need to hand in your internship decisions by the end of the day so they can be informed, and you can leave for the respective locations on Sunday. Those of you staying in town will simply meet your pros at their preferred location, while those of you leaving will need to figure out which trains you will be taking and let us know. The cost will be covered by the school as this counts as a school-sanctioned field trip. Anyone with a completed form may hand them in now. He holds his hand out expectantly, and Izuku is the first one to the front, placing the form in his guardian's hand with a small smile before rushing back to his seat. Izuku is pleased to see that most of his classmates are also handing in their forms, and Shouta starts his lecture as soon as Todoroki is back in his seat. Izuku keeps up with his first two classes much better than yesterday. He actually stays conscious for one, and he even manages to take detailed notes on the topics. He doesn't even notice that the lunch bell rings until Shinso is tapping him on the shoulder, an amused look on his face. Cafeteria today? I didn't bring a lunch. Sure, Shinso. Sounds good. And it does. Izuku thinks that nothing sounds better than a normal lunch with his friends. The normality lasts all the way until the last 15 minutes of the lunch period, when Uraraka taps his shoulder, looking nervous. Can we talk, Deku? Goodbye, good mood. He has a feeling that this isn't going to go well. Sure, Uraraka. Lead the way. Izuku follows her out of the loud cafeteria, and down a few hallways until they find an empty one and she stops. Listen, Deku, I just wanted to apologize further. I was being totally uncool. I was being so pushy when asking about your injuries, and I plan on chatting with Ida about it too. I'm so sorry. Will you ever forgive me? Of course, Uraraka. I was just upset because it's so personal, but you apologizing means a lot. Uraraka looks like she's about to hug him, but something changes her mind and she turns away, heading back towards the cafeteria. He follows at a much slower pace, retaking his seat next to Shinso when he finally arrives. What was that all about? Shinso looks mildly concerned as he asks the question. She apologized again. Seemed like she felt bad. Shinso's eyebrows shoot up, but the bell saves Izuku from having to discuss it more. When they arrive in the gym after changing into their hero costumes, Uraraka is already there, and she just shoots them one of her regular smiles before returning to her conversation with Asui. Any strangeness from the past couple days is gone. It seems like their friendship is slowly going back to normal. All Might's arrival drags him out of his thoughts, and he tunes in just in time to hear what his plans are for the class. They're doing battle trials again, just like their first class with All Might. Izuku ends up teamed up with Kirishima as villains against Ashido and Kaminari as the heroes. They're given a few minutes to set up and strategize before the heroes can come in the building. Does Kaminari's electricity affect your hardening? No, why? Kirishima is giving him a suspicious look. We need to make sure he goes after you. He'll try to stop you using his electricity. If you can hold out long enough, he'll up the voltage and won't be able to stand it himself. Then you can tie him up and come help me with Ashido. I plan on distracting her long enough for either you to finish your part or for the timer to hit 0. Sounds good enough to me. Bomb going on the top floor? Yeah, how'd you know? Kirishima gives him a shark-like smile at that. Lucky guess. They act out their plan perfectly, Kaminari and Ashido acting just as they predicted they would. Aside from a few scrapes and bruises he got while distracting Ashido, they make it out on top, scoring the only villain victory of the day. Izuku is just leaving the changing room with Kirishima, discussing their trial excitedly when a loud voice interrupts them. Young Midoriya, could I have a moment to speak with you? No, he does not need this today. Or any day. Didn't Shouta tell him not to speak to him? I have to get to class, All Might. Nonsense. I'm sure young Kirishima can tell Aizawa where you are. Kirishima gives him a thoughtful frown, before looking to the hero in front of them. Of course I can, All Might. Good luck, Midoriya. With that, Kirishima is gone, leaving Izuku alone with the number 1 hero. The only thought that crosses his mind is how pissed Shota's going to be when he hears about this. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 15 of Just Trying to Survive and Learn to Love Along the Way. Chapter 16 will be up next. Wondering what you all thought about the end of this chapter for Chapter 15, with All Might stepping back in, not listening to Aizawa. A lot of foreboding for maybe what's going to come next for the number 1 hero when it comes to how he's interacting with Izuku. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and reactions. Of course, we're seeing a continued development of Shinso and Izuku's friendship, some secrets being revealed, some opportunities where Shinso's really stepping up and trying to protect Izuku or defend him, even against his own classmates who are kind of invading that privacy, and how some of those relationships are still being mended, right? Like Uraraka's attempted an apology, too. So I'd love to hear what you all thought. Drop your comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. And just as a reminder, the fic is located over on AO3, so if you have an opportunity to slide on over and leave comments, kudos, support to the original author, I'm sure it's much appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.